the Prodigal Son fallacy here in Venezuela. Well, today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
So today, since we have seen a lot on this channel every other weekend, now we are going to read the Bible. Yes, I'm not kidding. So today we are going to open up our Bibles and we are going to review a story, a biblical story that's going to teach us a few things about Venezuela. So this story starts on the book of Luke, verse 15, and talks about a particular king that had two sons. One son is, the good son, and the second one is kind of, a loose cannon. Let's put it like that. Anyways, the second son, the loose cannon, he asked to his father, of course, the wealthy man, that he wants to inherit his particular, take that is going to be inheriting in the future when his father being alive. And his father, his father was a very good, benevolent guy. He says, go ahead. Here's your part of your inheritance. Very good. So this particular gentleman went up, get away from the kingdom, and he was a party animal, according to the Bible, and he basically squandered everything about his wealth, his inheritance, and he lost everything, on human pleasures, on lust, drinking, gambling, any kind of degeneracy. Very good. So after he lost everything, he wants to come back to the kingdom of his father, and he's very, he feels bad for himself because he lost everything that he has, his whole inheritance, and he thought that his father is going to punish him or something. He thought that he's going to have a lesser role on the kingdom of his father or something like that. And actually, it was not the case. Surprisingly, his father actually was very happy to receive back again his son at his home. And actually, he made this particular party and a particular feast in order to celebrate that his son comes again to the father's home. So basically, that's the story of the prodigal son. Now, how this story plays out in Venezuela? Well, it plays out a lot, actually, surprisingly, because I explained this about Venezuelans. Venezuelans are cool people, and I don't like to bash my fellow Venezuelans, but I have to give them, tough love, because a lot of good things about Venezuelans, and if you're an international, the best thing is that they treat very well the international. That's the best thing. But a lot of things that I have to, beat the crap out of my fellow Venezuelans, because I want them to be better. Of course, I have to be better myself. And also I want the best for my country. And this is one of this particular, things. One of the bugs of the Venezuelan culture and society is that they apply a lot the prodigal son fallacy. Something that happens with Venezuelans, and I already made a piece of content regarding this, is that Venezuelans, quote unquote, hate each other. And I said it like on a playful demeanor, but it's not completely inaccurate. We don't hate each other, we get along each other. We don't have like this caste system from India or something like that. No. The issue with Venezuelans is that Venezuelans like to pursue status a lot. I explained this on that previous video, please check that out. But the issue with Venezuelans, there is a lot of envy, a lot of showing off, a lot of status going on. But at the same token, the particular mindset of that you need to, Venezuelans have a very collectivist mindset that doesn't have to do anything with socialism or communism. That's another thing. But you have to belong, you have to be, very narrow. They have a particular mindset that anyone that deviates for a particular social conduct is severely punished by the average Venezuelan. And by the way, if you're a foreign and international here in Venezuela, that doesn't apply to you. You are going to have a lot of room, a lot of leeway in order to do your thing, that despite cultural differences. Okay, but for average Venezuelans, it's very, very difficult. But here's the funny thing, is that when you deviate, you are going to be punished by the collective of Venezuelans. For instance, that happened a lot with homosexuals here in Venezuela. That, I mean, they are accepted. I mean, I'm not saying that the Venezuelans hate homosexuals or something like that. No, it's not the case. Actually, they get along pretty much fine. They have their own social milieu, and good for them. But I mean, Venezuela is they make, they get a lot of, mockery regarding being homosexual and stuff like that. I mean, that we like to bust our balls to each other all the time. I mean, it's a funny thing though. And actually, that's one of the reasons that it's a funny thing that many people in the West think that Venezuela, since we are communists and socialists, and I told you that is not the case, we are a crony capitalistic society, actually. That's a completely different proposition. Anyways, but actually the laws here in Venezuela I'm talking on the social norm, are very conservative. We don't have same-sex marriages. Abortion is illegal, actually, so most Venezuelans are pro-life, actually, if that's important to you. Also, a lot of religion here. So people here believe me, are not atheists or something like that. Some of them, but it's a tiny minority. Most people here are Catholics, Christians, a handful of Muslims, even some Jewish. Anyways, so people here are very, conservative on that particular regard. Anyways, I mean, it's not like we have woke culture or something like that. Maybe a few pockets now and there here in Caracas or something like that. Anyway, the main point is that Venezuelans, I mean, here's the funny thing. If you want to achieve something great as a Venezuelan, you have to do a lot of far-fetched things that doesn't seem reasonable here in the country. So you have to work in your habits. Remember atomic habits, that basically you become your habits in order to achieve something spectacular. I mean, everywhere, but even in Venezuela, that is more difficult for the average Venezuelan. In order to achieve anything with substance, is way, way more difficult compared to the US or Europe or even other parts in Latin America. So your habits, you have to be a machine regarding your habits. In order, you need to have odd habits for the eyes of the average Venezuelan. So you are going to be considered a little bit, eccentric and that kind of thing if you try to apply those habits on Venezuelan society. And here's the funny thing though. Venezuelans like successful people. They like, first, financially successful people, but also they like famous people, like influencers or music artists and that kind of thing. For instance, I'm going to tell another funny story, is that, Luisito Comunica is a very popular Mexican YouTuber. He's huge. I mean, he's huge. It's a funny thing. He's like the Mexican version of Mr. Beast, in order to put it on that way. Well, funny thing though, I remember he visited my hometown Lecheria on 2021. And a year prior that he visited Lecheria, so just before COVID, by the way, I asked, because I actually like Luisito Comunica, I watch his content once in a while. And I was asking to a bunch of people, hey, I was having this conversation, do you know Luisito Comunica? Nobody knew Luisito Comunica. Funny thing though, a year afterwards, he visits our city. Everyone knows him. Everyone wants to take a selfie. I mean, because this stupid mindset of the Venezuelans of pursuing status. Either could be money, but also, fame on this particular case, or an athlete or something like that. So Venezuelans love winners in life, financially, fame, overachievers, that kind of stuff. But hate when people have to do something spectacular regarding their habits in order to achieve such success. So on this particular process, on this particular curve of developing yourself, they're going to bash you a lot regarding, of course, you have to work hard. Your habits have to gravitate towards your particular goal and objective, and you are going to get bashed a lot. Talking if you are Venezuelan. If you're international, that's another thing. And they are going to bash you a lot. They're going to criticize you a lot. Venezuelans love critique, love gossip, love, following trends. This is one of the biggest issues that I have against my fellow Venezuelans. They don't have critical thinking skills, don't have that ability. They are just another ship in a herd. But here's the funny thing. when you made it and you go through all of this process, all of this particular developing process, when you have to adapt very rigorous habits and methods, and so, that sounds far-fetched for the average Venezuelan. When you made it, I mean, you became rich, you become famous, you become an overachiever, whatever might be the case, that's when they are going to start loving you. And another funny thing that I want to share, we have here in Venezuela, if you're a Venezuelan, you already know this, we have a website and a news page that gives you satirical fake news that is known as El Chigüire Bipolar. It's very funny. Gives fake news actually about real things. And one time they put a particular fake news is that young Venezuelan musician moves to Mexico in order to become famous in Venezuela. That's a funny thing because Venezuelans, we have also another word here that we call pastelero. Pastelero will be the opposite of being a nationalistic. Oh, in the US, you have a similar word. It's called a bandwagon. Yes, Venezuelans are very huge bandwagoners. And this happens a lot. Actually, I was listening to a huge influencer regarding digital marketing here. Her name is Emily Baril, and she's actually very famous here in the country. She's very successful, shout out to her. But she's also very hated for other Venezuelans, especially other females. Because, I mean, she's a quite attractive young female, but also she is the opposite of most Venezuelans here that she likes to show off and that kind of stuff. She's not like that. Basically, she, according to what her stories and her content, she doesn't have much female friends and that kind of things. And actually, the few people that I know, they know her. I'm talking her content. Women, they hate it. So, I mean, it's kind of like the Mean Girls thing. Okay, anyway, but she's very good with digital marketing. And she was explaining that one of the things that she did not want to do is leave the country, and she flirted with the idea of leaving the country and start doing content abroad, like in Mexico or Colombia or the US. Actually, Miami, we have a bunch of Venezuelan influencers in Miami. Anyway, she flirted with that idea because it was going to be quicker in order to become famous in Venezuela. That's the funny thing, though. And by the way, I'm not leaving Venezuela in order to become famous. Actually, I'm doing quite the opposite. Anyways, she always mentioned this, and sadly, and she mentions that she's not making, I mean, I believe she's doing financially okay, but she's not doing the revenue that she deserves because actually she's very huge regarding her social media following, that kind of stuff. Anyways, so the bottom line is that even when you're a Venezuelan, I mean, you always, when you're on this particular process of achieving something great, Venezuelans are going to be, a burden. And I have to say, the Venezuelan society right now, for me, is a burden. But as soon as you made it, financially or with fame or whatever may be the case, they're going to love you back. I mean, it's a funny thing how it works. But the closest thing that I can find is in the Bible. Yes, I read the Bible, by the way. I'm Catholic. Well, the funny thing is that the only thing similar I found it on this biblical story about the prodigal son. So that's the lesson for today, my sons. The prodigal son in Venezuela works, but I mean, it is what it is. So Venezuelans are going to hate you when you are on the process. That's going to be hard and lengthy, but they are going to welcome you back with a party and that kind of stuff when you make it, if you make it on the first place.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again and have a nice day.